My name is Dawn Simmons, and I'm sure y'all are a little familiar with our story, and I just want to share that with y'all today. Let's see. Arrow down. Oh, I'm going up. It's been a minute. Okay, so like I said, my name is Dawn Simmons. This is my family. I have 9 kids, and this is my whole crew. This was back in 2016 for my oldest son's wedding. So this was a few years back, but this is our whole family right here. And here's a little bit more recent picture of all of us. This is me and my husband Ray, Ren, Katie, Shay, Rhett, Carly, Kyle, and Lindy, Christopher, and Kamryn. Lindy, Christopher, and Kamryn are no longer with us. On December 17th of 2021, we were heading to a basketball game. It was me, Lindy, Christopher, Kamryn, and Christopher's girlfriend, Marissa, who's here today. We were heading back home, and a drunk driver entered the interstate the wrong way, and he hit us head on. And Lindy, Christopher, and Kamryn lost their lives that night. So I just want to tell you a little bit about each of them. Lindy was 20 at the time of the crash. She is our memory maker. She videoed, photographed, and documented everything, everyday life. Big things, birthdays, weddings, but everyday life. If you were around Lindy, you were either knowingly or unknowingly going to be a victim to her camera. And it is one of the things I am so thankful for today, because we have so many videos of everyday life. Lindy was the most creative person I have ever known in my life. She was a brilliant photographer. Her pictures and her ability to capture moments was leaps and bounds above her age. She was brilliant and magnificent at doing these things, and just so creative. She could see something and just make it beautiful. She was so creative. She would film things like her and Kamryn would go into Walmart, and they would find a little aisle where nobody was, and they would do little dances and stuff. Lindy captured that on video. They would go pump gas, fist bump, do a little spin, get back in the car. Lindy captured it. And it's those everyday events that are just so precious to me now. You know, I didn't think they were of any importance back then, but now they are what I treasure the most, because I can have those memories of how they were every day. Her and Kamryn had gone to the eye doctor, and Kamryn had the little thing that covers your eye, and she was having trouble reading the screen. Lindy's on the down low filming her, and the caption is, "This girl can't read." I mean, with skeleton heads. I mean, just those everyday events were just so precious to me now, and I get to look back and just, see those precious memories, never dreaming that their life would be stolen at such a young age. I am so thankful for those. Even Lindy as a little girl, little bitty girl, she had a camera or video camera in her hand. It was just such a God-given thing that God instilled in her, and I am so thankful for it. Lindy was a sophomore at Nicholls State University. She had just landed her dream job. She had got hired as the Nicholls campus photographer. That was in November of 21. She was supposed to start that position in January of 22 for the spring semester, but that day never came. Her life was stolen from her from one man's decision. She would come home from college, and the first thing she would do was she would come sit in my lap at 20 years old, tell me all about her day. She was such a joy to be around. If you were going to hang out with Lindy, you will be laughing throughout the day. She was just such a fun. She was someone who loved life. and lived it to the absolute fullest. Lindy and I share a birthday. Never ever did I think, I would think that, when I would go before her, I would always hope that she would be able to still enjoy her birthday because, we shared a birthday. Never did I think that I would be the one having to celebrate a birthday without her. So, there are just so many ripple effects when these kind of things happen. Christopher was 17 at the time of the crash. He was a remarkable young man. He was so academic. He was well on his way to being valedictorian of his class. He was striving to make a 32 on his ACT. At the time of the crash, he had made a 26. He said, "Mom, I have about 7 or 8 more times to take it." He said, "And I'm going to need to order some study guides." He said, "I need a little boost in my science and math scores." I have no doubt that he would achieve that goal. He was so driven. He was a phenomenal athlete. He had won first team All-State for basketball. The previous year, as he played baseball, he won the Golden Glove Award, and he was planning to play football for the first time. So he was just really an amazing athlete. He was so academic. I tell you, if I could say, "Lord, I want a son, and I want him to be this, 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 and this," when I tell you, Christopher checked every single box. He was just such a young man of integrity. When Christopher gave you his word, you can count on it. He had a caring personality. Him and Marissa, even though they were young, I tell you, I know in my soul that was going to be his future wife. They had plans. They had visions. They had dreams. Even though they were young, I'm telling you, that was going to be his wife. And all of that, plans and things that they had taken away because of one man's decision. Christopher was he was one of a kind. He thought out things so carefully before he made a decision. He weighed things out to see how it would affect his future. He was going to go to college to be a software engineer like his oldest brother, Ren. He already had a Robinhood account. He was learning about how to invest money. He had already began learning how to code on his own. So he was just, he was my beautiful, remarkable boy. Kamryn was 15, 41 days short of getting her driver's license, 41 days short of her 16th birthday. Kamryn was the kindest child I have ever met in my life. It truly broke her heart if she saw someone hurting. When we would leave Walmart, sometimes you see there's homeless people or whatever, people in need who may need a little handout or something. If I didn't have money in my purse when we passed, she would demand, "Mom, go to the money machine." I mean, it truly just hurt her heart when she saw people hurting. Her and I spent an extra amount of time together that year, which I'm so thankful for, because she had her permit and we were doing a lot of practice driving. So I wanted to make sure that she got all the practice she needed. So her and I mean, the minute I'd get off of work, "Come on, Mom, let's go. I want to practice. I want to practice." I mean, we practiced every day. And she would get her little playlist ready, get it ready to go, and then we would leave. And I tell you, she would sing and sing and sing in that car. She had the most beautiful singing voice. I have a little snippet of it I'll show y'all after we're done so y'all can hear her sing. It's one of the things one of the things I miss so much today. I look for her still in my car because I'm by myself a lot because they're not here. But she was just the sweetest and kindest child I ever had the opportunity to be around. Hannah, this is, come up a minute, baby. This is Hannah. This is Kamryn's best friend. She's from North Carolina, and she's spending the summer with us. I flew her in, and she's spending a little time with us. She's 17. She had a 16-year-old sister who was killed in a car crash as well. So 7 years ago, she had a sister that was killed in a car crash by, it wasn't a drunk driver, but it was a careless driver. Just kind of cutting up, not doing what he was supposed to be doing. And I think it was something with an intersection that he ran, and they got T-boned, and her sister was killed. Then later, her best friend was killed. How has this affected you as a young girl?
More ways than I guess I could ever explain. I mean, just think of the person that you were closest to in this world, and just imagine you wake up the next day and they're gone. Because I feel everyone here has to have a best friend, and even if they don't, just someone you admire more than anything or anyone else, just the next second they're gone. The thing I wanted to do most was call Kamryn, but I couldn't because she was the person I'd go to when I needed something. That's gone. And it's just so hard because see, I'm at a loss for words, and this is what happens because it's just, you can't even explain the emotions of feeling of losing someone you love and care for so much. And it's just, and it all could have been prevented. And that's the thing I think about all the time is how easily this could have just not happened, but because of one person's careless decision, it's my life changed in 1 second. And it's just, I come to visit now, and it's now I have to go sit and see my best friend's grave, which is something that no one should ever go through that, regardless of how old you are. But someone being so young is just I can't even believe it sometimes. Sometimes I'm here and then I still think of what can we do with Kamryn? And it's just, I just have to realize and it's been a little over a year, and it doesn't get any easier. It doesn't get, you don't just realize more and more, and you don't get comfortable with it. It's just there every day. You wake up, it's just a pit in your heart, and it's just, there's so much to it. I can never explain it, and just, I could try and nothing's gonna ever get out the pain of losing your best friend. I can't. I'm trying, but I can't get it out.
So, all right, babe. Thank you. So this is a head-on collision, not ours, but just to give you an idea of how quickly these things can happen. That quick. So this crash was a lot slower rate of speed than ours. But still, I mean, one little bit of distraction, one look down to answer your text, one whatever. It happens that quick. And when I tell you, your life can change instantly, like ours. This is a picture of our car the night of the crash. The driver was going 80 to 90 miles an hour. We were doing 75, which is the speed limit on I-49. No brakes were applied. Lindy was driving. I was in the front passenger seat. Christopher was behind me. Marissa was in the middle. And Kamryn was behind Lindy. The driver's side took the brunt of this crash. Lindy was killed instantly. Kamryn died at 10:33. And Christopher died at 11:06. It's so important to realize the piece that y'all going to be in vehicles. They are heavy pieces of machinery. You can kill someone, and someone can kill you. You have to make solid decisions before you get behind the wheel of a car. It's not a game. You can't be distracted. You can't worry about changing your song on the radio. And never, ever think you can get behind the wheel. I know y'all are young, but I'm just saying as y'all get older, drinking. You can never, ever allow that to happen. Now, do people who drink and get behind the wheel, does this happen every time? No, it doesn't. Would you be willing to take the chance of causing this for a family? I don't think so. There's nothing worth this. Here's just a little footage of actually on the scene. You can see, just, oh gosh. I don't have any memory of the actual crash. We went to the game. Kids were hungry. We went to Subway. I remember leaving Subway at 7:06. My last text from Christopher was at 7:03 because we laughed about it. He was in the back seat with Marissa. And he texts me and he says, Mom, tell Lindy to bring Marissa to her house instead of back at our house. And I looked, I said, hold up, you texting me to tell her that's sitting right there? And we laughed. And that's the last memory I have of my children alive and well. So we left the Subway at 7:06. We crashed at 9:01. I didn't know my kids were gone until 2 days later because of the severe injuries that I sustained. This is some more footage of actually on the scene. Y'all see this little bit of purple right here? It took me a long, long time to be able to watch this video. That's Lindy, still in the car. Took them an hour and a half to get her out. You could just see how mangled the car was. Physics. That car did everything that it could do to protect us. Every airbag came out, every safety mechanism, everything. But it's just physics, 90 miles an hour, 75 miles an hour, no brakes. We're not sure, but we're kind of piecing together that maybe the drunk driver had just come over an overpass the wrong way, and there was a car in front of us, and we're maybe thinking, we really don't know, because me and Marissa are the only survivors. I have no memory, and she was sleeping, and we lost the 3 kids. But from piecing a few things together, maybe there was a car in front of us, and when he saw the oncoming car, he veered off, switched lanes, and it just didn't give us any time. It's maybe one scenario of what could have happened. I tell you one thing to remember, that when you are traveling on an interstate, the left lane is only for passing. Because think about it, if you have a drunk, wrong way driver coming, he is always going to be in that left lane. So you should only use that lane. Pass and get back in. Just something for y'all to remember. And that's pictures of my car before. You can see all that. Everything came out. Everything that could possibly protect us did. but the force was just too much. This is where Kamryn was sitting, right here. I mean, they're just, I can go to that crash site today, and I promise you, I'll still find pieces of my vehicle. Every time we've gone to the crash site, we find pieces of my car that's still there. That's how devastating that impact was. You can't see right here. If the picture would go a little further down, you could see Kamryn's gummy bears that she had. She loved gummy bears. So this is the night of. This is Lindy. This is my Lindy girl. And these texts are from my oldest daughter, Katie, to her best friend, Allie. Because when she got the call from my husband, he said, Katie, mom's been in a wreck. It doesn't look good, but go to the hospital. And never, just never said anything about the kids. So in her mind, she's coming to the hospital. She's coming here, Lafayette General. And she's thinking, the kids are fine. She said, it must be just mom. So never, ever even crossed her mind that, maybe they had like a little broken arm or something, but never thinking that it was anything, serious. So they get here, and when Katie drives up, my husband and my son are running to her car, frantic. And they saying on Facebook, there's a crash on I-49 and both the drivers are gone. And she's like, well, we don't know if that's ours. Like, her mind just couldn't accept any kind of news like that. So she made her husband go park the car. She got down, went to the desk, and said, you have a Dawn Simmons, Marissa Darby, and do you have Lindy, Christopher, and Kamryn Simmons? And they said, well, we have Marissa, we have Dawn, but we don't have any kids. And she's like, well, what do you mean? She's like, where are they? And they're like, they're not here. So she gets in touch with her friends, and she asks her friend to start sending her different phone numbers to different hospitals to see if they could locate them, because she's thinking, I don't want those kids, I don't want my little babies to be alone. They probably wondering, what in the world is going on? Where am I? Where's my family? So they called all kind of hospitals. Nobody had them. They called even as far out as Baton Rouge, New Orleans, everywhere, thinking maybe they got airlifted. So one of the police officers that were here suggested to them that they go to Opelousas General. They're thinking maybe they were en route here, had to divert, and maybe had to go over to stabilize them, to get, to be able to bring them to this trauma center. So they go. They said, well, we have nothing else to go on. Let's go. She said, I got to find them. So she calls Opelousas General again. On her way, she said, look, I just called. She said, I know y'all said y'all don't have any Simmons children, but do y'all have anyone there that was brought that was just in a crash? And they said, yes, we do. So, and the nurse said, yes, we're going to need you to come and identify them. Still, her mind just couldn't go there. So she's thinking, let's go. So they went, they got there. They met with the charge nurse, and he said, well, what do your siblings look like? So she's trying to explain, and her husband said, Katie, just show him a picture. So they had also got word that a young blonde driver was the one who had passed away. This was on their way to there. Lindy doesn't have blonde hair here, but at the time of the crash, her hair was blonde. Kamryn had like an ombre. Hers was kind of just lighter at the bottom. So if anything, she's thinking, Lindy, but her mind still won't even allow her to go there. So she's telling her friend, we can't find my siblings, only my mom and Marissa here. The hospital can't say where they were taken. It's Lindy, a fatality, yes. Oh my God, Katie, I'm so sorry. Mom's ankles are broken, she's critical. Kamryn and Christopher are critical. We think Lindy is gone, but no one can tell us, excuse the language. Only Marissa and Mom are here at Lafayette General. So they get the guy, once she shows them the pictures of the girls, the charge nurse says, well, come with me. So Katie starts freaking out. And her husband's like, Katie, we don't know if it's them. She said, but they taking us to the back. She said she was freaking. Now she was freaking. So they went into this room, and they had a body bag, white body bag. And she said, I can't look. So her mother-in-law said, go ahead. Unzipped it, thinking it's Lindy, if anything. Katie said, who is it? And her mother-in-law said, Katie, oh my God. She said, it's Kamryn, her little baby sister, 15 years old. Katie said her little face was perfect. She said she went touch her little face. She said, are y'all sure y'all have done everything? It just looks like she's sleeping. And they said she was in such bad shape. All four of her limbs were broken. We didn't even get to see what was going on internally, but she was in such bad shape. She said there's nothing we could do. So she's just in shock, just rubbing her little baby sister's face. And her mother-in-law said, well, what about her other siblings? Where are they? So charge nurse went out, comes back. He said, I think we found your brother. He said, there's a young man at Bunkie General that we think may be your brother. And she said, thank God. She said, I need to get there. She said, I know he's not okay. She said, but at least he's alive. Nurse did. I'm sorry. We're going to need you to identify Kamryn, get all the paperwork straight that we need, and then we're going to need you to go to Bunkie General and identify your brother. So in that moment, she finds out she's lost two, thinking there's no way these kids are that injured. So her mother-in-law said, well, what about the other sibling? And he said, oh, no. He said, they still trying to get her out the car. And she said, alive? And he said, oh, no. They've been trying to get her out for an hour and a half. So in that moment, she finds out all three of her siblings are gone. She said that she couldn't even feel her. It was just, she was numb. It was just surreal. So this is Kamryn. And this is my Christopher. She said when they went to identify Christopher, she looked through the windows and she could see his little mousy brown hair. The coroner hadn't got there yet. Still had the intubation tube in his mouth. And she said she could see his little teeth biting on the tube. He had the most beautiful teeth. Even the paramedic who we'd become friends with, he still today, he said that boy had the most beautiful teeth. So that's the nightmare of how they were found, and I had no idea what was going on that night. I was very injured myself. These are some of my injuries. I tore both carotid arteries, spleen laceration, collapsed lung, many fractured ribs, sternum fracture, wrist fracture, and both legs and ankles were severely broken. I had an open fracture in one leg, and that's when your bone is actually out of the leg. So to be walking today, I'm so very thankful. But because my injuries were so severe, I wasn't able to be told that I had lost the kids until they got me in a more stable place. And Marissa, this is her injuries right here. Come right here.
I almost forgot how many injuries I had.
It was a lot, girl.
But, so I had my left
Come a little
femur.
further right here so you can see. There you go.
I'm sorry. I have my left femur fracture.
Dislocated
Spine. I didn't even know about that. Okay. Y'all could just read it, but C6 and C7 disc bulge, left foot sprain, right hand's fracture. You can imagine that. Like, I had to do everything with my left hand now. C1 and C2 ligament strain, which I don't know what that is.
I don't know.
Severe whiplash. Yeah, that was really bad.
Mm-hmm.
I had to relearn how to walk because of my leg. I had one of those little, what are those
Walkers.
called? A walker. So I kind of look like a granny most of the time, just like walking with my walker around the house. And had to relearn how to use my hand. I had like multiple different things I had to learn at physical therapy.
Mm-hmm.
And we went to the same place.
We did.
What else did whenever I first, mostly like, so like most people tell you like whenever you injure something, like the thing that's closer to like your head, like you feel the most. And my whiplash was bad. Like it was probably worse than like my broken leg. I think that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else?
What losing Christopher and just, you know, the plans, and tell them about the plans y'all had and how just one decision just totally.
Yeah, well, we were gonna both go to Nichols together, and well, everything kind of changed after that because, you know, but I'm going to play softball in college in Arkansas, which is really weird. I thought I was going to stay here in Louisiana. That totally got flipped around. What else? We both like kids, and I know like as like young, like you kind of think about that, but like not a lot. We were still like juniors in high school,
Mm-hmm.
so like we thought about that a little bit, but we wanted a lot of kids, not like, I don't know. We joked. We said we would make.
They said they were gonna beat me. They were gonna beat me. They were gonna have 10. So I was really looking forward to that. But so losing Christopher like that, how hard was it for you to be able to navigate through life, losing someone that you cared for that much at such a young age? Like,
well, in high school, I feel like we kind of clung to each other. So like, I had to get closer to like other friends and stuff, and like, we were kind of like our own clique. Like, I don't know how to explain it. Like, we hung out with each other the most. Like, I was always at his house. He was always he was always at my house.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to make more friends and get closer to other people. And all of his friends that he had in high school, for the first like few months or whatever, it was not the same.
Devastating. Yeah, it was devastating. So since this, like, have you, I know you were a cautious driver before, but has this impacted you with driving and just, the way you do things now?
Yeah, very.
Yes, and you probably just have much more of an awareness of how fragile life is, huh? Yeah, that we are not guaranteed tomorrow.
No, never.
No, so need to make the best decisions that you can in everyday life, because you just never know what tomorrow will bring. So, all right, thank you, babe. Okay, so this is January 3rd. Crash was on December 17th. I didn't find out I lost my children until December 19th when the I had had my first surgery, and they decided, they coordinated with the doctors, and they said, okay, because I can remember when I was in ICU, I would kind of ask, like, where's the kids? And I never got an answer that I'm like, oh, Christopher's in room 310 with a broken leg. Like, but I was so broken physically, like I couldn't take it in, But in the back of my mind, like, I just could tell something was off, but I was too broken to be able to take it in. So on December 19th, after my first surgery, my daughter Katie had come to see me for the first time because she took the reins and she wanted to allow my husband to stay with me. She didn't want her dad to have to go through going to the funeral home, picking caskets, just all the things that were involved when you lose 3 young kids like that. It was overwhelming. So when she came on December 19th, her and I have a very, very special relationship. So when I saw her, we locked eyes, and I said, Katie, where are the kids? And they had already had a plan on how they were going to tell me. They were planning on doing it the Monday because they were waiting for some of my other children to fly in because they live out of state. So, but the way I asked her, there was a pastor behind her, and Katie was starting to back up, and he said, Katie, go ahead and tell her. He said, she's asking, like, she needs to know. So she said, Mom, I'm so sorry. She said, they all gone. I said, all 3? She said, yeah, Mom, I am so sorry. But I was so broken, I went right back out of consciousness. So I wasn't able to take in the weight of that, which, this is crazy, but when I tell you I am thankful that I was injured, because in the way I am now, I could not have handled the weight of the news of losing my 3 youngest children. I really could not have taken the weight of that. So in a crazy way, I was thankful that I was injured. So this is January 3rd. So they had to try and coordinate with the doctors. When are we going to have the funeral? They didn't know how long I was going to be in the hospital. They just kind of had to coordinate the best. So they decided on January 4th was going to be the funeral. This is January 3rd. This is the first time I see the kids since leaving the subway. When I tell you I was in a wheelchair for 3 months, I was in that wheelchair behind those doors waiting for them to open so that just the immediate family could go in and view, is the most hopeless and broken and devastated feeling I have ever experienced in my life. Think about this. Think of 3 people in your life, like that's your people, that you talk to every day, that you love with all your heart. I love these kids. They were the joy of my life. My world revolved around them. I loved them. Think of your 3 closest people. 9:01 they here, 9:02 they gone. And you behind these doors opening up to see your 3 people in caskets. It's devastating. It's hopeless. Every single area of our life has been affected by this. Every area. There's not an area of our life that's not affected. We're 18 months in. This second year is hard. It's very hard. This is my youngest son, Kyle. For 2 hours, he rode me. I'm like, Kyle, bring me to Lindy. Bring me to Christopher. Bring me to Kamryn. And the extent of that accident, I mean the severity of it, we were able to open the caskets for all of them. But when I saw Christopher, he had broke his little nose. And they didn't fix his hair like he fixed it. It broke my heart when I saw him, because it didn't look like him. The girls were close, but that didn't look like my boy. So, what in the world could be worth this? What? Answering a text message? Changing a radio station? Just cutting up? Being silly behind the wheel of a car? What could be worth this? Because 901, they here. 902, they gone. You can't say, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that. I wish I would have done that. I'm so sorry. You cannot go back. At 902, this is the result. And there's no changing it. This is my reality till I take my last breath. What could be worth that? And there's two sides to this. One, you can be the person who makes a decision like this. Can you imagine living with the weight of causing this to a family? I can't. Or, like us, we did nothing wrong that night. Nothing. We had our seatbelts on. We were doing the speed limit. We were just trying to get home to start the Christmas break. Coming home from a basketball game. Something I'm sure all y'all do all the time, going to school events. Just went, basketball game, trying to get home. But I tell you, if God touches your heart and puts something on your heart, don't run away from it. I know where my kids are. Y'all need to make sure that y'all are always right with God, because not a single one of you in here is guaranteed tomorrow. Not one. I never dreamed that on December 17th, these three beautiful young kids who were so full of life, who had dreams, who had visions, who had plans, who had their futures planned, would not see December 18th. And that my world and my family's world would be forever changed. I went to a baby shower this past Saturday. It was just the first baby shower I had gone to since losing the kids. Not a big deal, just a baby shower. When I tell you the pain in my heart, I had to end up leaving. Beautiful mama. What a beautiful gift to have a baby. But all I could think about, I will not be able to do this for Lindy and Kamryn. There's no baby showers for them. Every day it's something. And being so many of them, they're everywhere. They had so many friends. They had so many, things that they did. Everywhere I go, they everywhere. And it's like a merry-go-round. This with Lindy, this with Christopher, this with Kamryn. It's heartbreaking for a mama. This is why I'm doing this. It is my heart and my mission to build their legacy. I am their voice. I do this for them because it is a miracle that I'm here. Because when I tell you, for months after this crash, I was so broken. I could not even speak. I would just go with my daughter and kind of be behind her. Broken in every way. My faith in God, though, is my lifeline. Do I understand why this happened? No. But I can tell you one thing. I know that I'm going to see him again. And none of you know what tomorrow holds. You need to make right decisions. Life can be summed up by choices you make. That's how your life is summed up. Lindy Simmons, 10/24/01-12/17/21. Christopher Ryan Simmons, October 18th, 2004, December 17th, 2021. Kamryn Claire Simmons, January 27th, 06, December 17th, 2021. We are all living in the dash. What decisions, what choices are y'all going to make that comprises of that dash before that final date is stamped? Your life is a summary of decisions and choices. You know, driving, I mean, y'all are just getting to these ages where y'all decisions will have bigger consequences. So it is imperative that y'all make these good choices. Do not think it can't happen to you. I was guilty of that. We just going to a basketball game, getting home. It can happen, and it happens very quickly. Triple funeral, 18 pallbearers. Can you imagine? So, I hope this story, y'all keep it in y'all heart. Y'all will remember it. I have some bracelets to give y'all as a reminder. Decisions have consequences. Don't take driving. Take it seriously. It is a big deal. Driving is a big deal. It's a big responsibility. So, if y'all want to get to know the kids a little better, my daughter has a TikTok. It's Katie Derwan1. Y'all can go follow it, and y'all can really get to know these kids. They were remarkable. They would have left such a positive mark on this world. But because of something that is so preventable, something that did not have to happen, if decisions would have been made beforehand, these kids would still be here. So some things decisions can prevent. Sometimes it's just one of those things. But when you have the opportunity, you need to make sure that you make good and wise choices so that this is not the consequence. All right. Thank y'all for having me.